All right, I believe we're live. Welcome to Gamcast for Monday, Easter Monday. Tonight we're here to talk about the Karmelo Anthony case and give a basic rundown so you understand the doctrine of self-defense. Folks, self-defense is pretty straightforward, but if you're not familiar with the Karmelo Anthony case, I wanted to give you both an update on that and just basically understand the doctrine of self-defense. So, first and foremost, Karmelo Anthony is a black child that stabbed in the heart a white child at a track meet, a high school event. They're both, I think, 17 years old in Texas. Here's footage of him getting out of jail a couple days ago because his bail somehow was reduced so that he was able to post it. And he's also gotten a Give, Send, Go account that's well over $500,000. Take a look. So there he is there, getting out. Reporters are trying to get him to answer questions. He's obviously not going to answer any questions. So, folks, let me give you the basics of this case. This really should be pretty open and shut based on the doctrine of self-defense. So, self-defense is an affirmative defense to a charge of assault, battery, or even murder in this case. So the fact that you caused the death of the decedent is not in question. What is in question is whether you were justified in doing it. And if you can invoke the doctrine of self-defense, again, as an affirmative defense, then you are not guilty of the crime. So basically, it's very simple. You may use the majority rule. You may use as much force as you need to if you have a reasonable belief that you're about to be assaulted, battered, or in this case, murdered. Okay, you are. There's no question about it. But the belief must be reasonable and the force must be proportional. So, for example, if I'm about to slap you, you cannot shoot me to death, right? You can maybe slap me or hit me, right? But that would be justified, and then I can't get you for assault. There are two things you need to understand, though. One is you cannot be the aggressor, okay? And everybody that took criminal law, which everybody that goes to law school does, is part of your first career curriculum. You can't get out of it even if you want to, and you wouldn't want to. It's actually very interesting stuff. The case of United States versus Peterson, as I recall, a guy came up and somebody was trying to steal, I think, wipers or something, mirrors off his car or something, and he pulled a gun on the guy. And the guy then grabbed a wrench and he shot him. And the court said, wait a minute, you can't claim self-defense. You pulled a gun on the guy. And that gun was not proportional. He was stealing wipers or mirrors. You should have just told him to shoot. And then maybe if he'd have pulled a wrench, you'd have been okay. So you can't be the aggressor. And there's some talk in this case that the white child had been the aggressor because he told Karmelo he was in the wrong tent and that he should go to the other tent. Right? That obviously is not going to work. That's not what aggressor means, okay? So you don't need to really worry about that doctrine in this case. Another thing I wanted to make you understand or you need to know, and it's not really applicable in here because we're talking about Tejas, and Tejas doesn't have this, but the minority rule is you have a duty to retreat. Now that would sink Karmelo. He's already pretty much sunk, but that would really sink him further because in the doctrine of retreat, and before you can use that force, you have to first see if you can retreat. Obviously, Karmelo could have just left the tent and retreated, and the problem would have been eviscerated. Of course, the majority rule does not include the duty to retreat. In Texas, I looked it up today. Here's the penal code, section 9.31, that talks about self-defense. I read it before I got on the show here. And Texas, not surprisingly, follows the majority rule. Now, folks, this would be an open and shut case. In any other case, I don't think Karmelo Anthony would even get the benefit of an instruction. That is, his lawyer would not be able to argue self-defense to a jury. Unfortunately, he probably will here. Right? And why not? Why shouldn't he be able to? Because he was not in threat, even if the kid touched his backpack, which is the allegation. It's not proportional to then stab somebody immediately in the heart. Would it be proportional to maybe slice him on the arm? Maybe. It'd be arguable. But one shot to the heart, that's a kill shot, right? And so there's no way he gets self-defense. But folks, here's somebody on YouTube. Criminal lawyer astoundingly has like 1,035,000 followers here, but this is why this case is he's probably going to get a self-defense, and he may well win. But anyway, take a listen to what Bruce Ventures, I think is his name, has to say about it, and you'll understand.
There's no question about that. This is a race case, 100% race case. You put that on the black side, this was a white guy, blah, blah, blah. And then if you got the other side, you're a liberal, blah, you think, you got two young men going like this. Let's take race out of it for a second. Let's pretend they're both black or they're both white. Let's just pretend that their race isn't part of this. It was unreasonable for both of them to act the way they did. Was it more unreasonable to stab the guy? It depends. It all depends.
It all depends. This is nuts, folks. Nuts. If this were the rule of law, he wouldn't even get a defense here. He wouldn't even be allowed to present this defense. He probably will be because of exactly what this guy says. It's just going to be race, and they're not going to follow the law. But if they follow the law, he has no self-defense claim here. Anyway, if you enjoyed this content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you do, you'll see me on the next one.